I like to mark it down that we actually started on time, which never happens on this podcast. Thank you very much. It's the A Game. I'm Rob Acampora here from the Shared Universe Studios in Red Bank. Anybody on the Jersey Shore that has gone to a concert, specifically Stone Pony, we'll start with that, you've seen this guy. You've probably seen him at a lot of other places, but I would say specifically Stone Pony. Last time I saw you, Starland Ballroom.
Yes.
Yeah, we crashed into
by the men's room there.
We're by the men's room. You got a photo of me and Gotch. Poor thing. Oh my God.
Yeah. That's always the best meeting spot in that little outfit.
It really is. And if you've never been to Starland Ballroom and you want to meet any of your friends, it'll be right by the bathroom because you're not going to find them in the crowd. It's just not going to happen. Photographer Jeff Crespi is here. Second time I've had a photographer in the 124 episodes I've been doing this. About time I had him on. I've only been trying for months. It's partly my fault. So
all good. Here I am.
Yeah, I'm appreciating it, especially right now. You were just telling me this is your one day off for the next month.
Yeah, literally, I average maybe 2 nights off a month regularly.
Okay.
And then with the whole North to Shore thing, last night we did, finished up, I had Happy Mondays at the Wonder Bar.
Right.
Which is, part of North to Shore as well.
Right.
But since Thursday through yesterday, I did 11 concerts.
Wow. How do you get used to this pace? I mean, you've been doing it long enough, but does it ever feel like, oh my God, I got to shut down at some point, but when?
No.
Okay. It's honest.
There are times where it's like, when is it going to end, per se? But it's like, it just never gets to any part beyond.
Right.
It's one of those things where, no matter how tired I might be, when I show up at a show, it's like, okay,
the juices are going on. Yeah, like the switch comes on.
Yeah, it's like a musician, getting on stage. That adrenaline kicks in.
Same for me when I'm doing a radio show with the Rat. It's the same feeling. It's like going, okay, the mic's coming on. Here we go.
Yeah.
Bing. You're like,
so it's just it's part of my life, and it's pre-photography, it's like my whole life. That's how I was. I was never. I think from the time I'm 17 years old, I've never really slept a normal night. It was never part of my, daily routine. Sleep was never something I was like, oh, got to go home and get to sleep. That was never an equation.
So you consider yourself a little nocturnal then in general?
Yeah, my body's so used to it from the time I was young.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So this adjustment into this world, because you came to photography a little late.
Yeah, exactly. I was already in my mid-40s,
right?
Just when it kind of was starting, not even professionally, but just kind of going to shows and kind of documenting mine and my son's journey. But yeah, I was already married with kids in a house, and what am I doing? What am I doing? I remember the first day I came home and I had to say to my wife, I got to go buy a camera, and she's like, are you getting paid? I go, no. She goes, well, what are you doing? I said, I don't know what I'm doing, but we'll see what happens.
That's kind of it's a leap of faith. It's kind of scary, but at first, at least you went in with the attitude of honestly, and saying this to you, I don't know if I'm going to make money. I don't know where this is going to go, but you really felt this passion with your son because you were going to shows with him anyhow.
Yeah, and that's, I think that was the beauty of, my story as opposed to other people that I meet today. It's a very different scene. It's where hey, no, listen, I was going to shows for 8 years on a regular basis, meaning over 100 to 150 shows a year as a fan. And that was just for that experience of live shows. It had nothing to do with photography. It had nothing to do with maybe I could earn a living doing this. That was never a plan. It was just going to live show and just putting myself out there in the scene. So I had that 8-year foundation of building my brand or building my reputation, so to speak, within the local music scene. So when it all happened, it was kind of a perfect fit. Today, these younger, and I don't want to stereotype and say it's only younger, because it's not only younger, but it's mostly younger people that just, wake up one day, get a camera and say, hey, how do I get a photo pass at the Pony? That's kind of where it's at now.
Right.
And those are the messages I get constantly.
And again, do you get the chance to at least tell your story to some of these people and say,
I
hey,
do.
By the way,
I do, because I will not, and I go through the whole spiel. And then I end it with, here is my phone number. If you'd like to chat, please call me.
That's great.
And just because if they call me, then I know they're legit.
Yeah,
If
they're
willing
really
to
going to
call
take this
me
seriously.
and have that conversation, then at least I know there's something there
Right.
that I'm willing to put that time and effort into explaining the process and the industry to them.
Right. And knowing that, hey, look, I started out just doing this on one level, and then suddenly it takes the turn. And even having that experience for how many years? About 8 years.
Yeah.
And taking the turn to become more professional at it, there's still the growing pains of that, because that changes everything, I would think, in your perspective of going, okay, I'm doing this with my son. This is a great experience. Now suddenly, wait a minute, now I may actually get paid for this. Now it becomes a little bit more.
Yep.
All right. It becomes more intense. There's a lot more, let's say, demand on your time as well.
Well,
So-
more of a commitment.
More of a commitment, sure.
And I also had to, understand that when I'm there shooting for a venue or a band,
Yeah.
I have to now be professional. Like there's
Sure.
a difference between being at a show as a fan
Yeah.
and being there as a worker, so to speak. So yeah, I had to understand the difference between the two. And then but I think I've kind of done that well, and I think I've kind of shown everybody that my work ethic is, is
I'll say second
beyond.
to none. Yeah, I know. It's second to none. No question.
Most people would be capable of doing.
But you
and I
also,
strive on that.
but you also find time to be human and just always say hello to people, and you recognize people. I mean, look, we've known of each other for so many years. So anytime we cross paths, like, hey, hello, how are you? I know you're working, but you give me 5 minutes, and
But-
you
well,
always try to extend a hand to people. I
But
love
that is the actual point. Like to me, the photography is just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Like, and I've had this conversation so many times over the years where, when it's all done,
Yeah.
I don't want to be known as a photographer. I want to be known as the person that was part of the scene.
I like that.
That walks into a room and people enjoy seeing you come in a room, and I enjoy seeing those people in a room, and that's part of why I still do what I do. I mean, taking pictures is awesome, and I love it, but that's not the basis of why I do what I do. It's because I want to walk in a room and see certain people that I know on every given night or whatever venue or whatever show. There's certain people that I know I'm going to see when I get there, and those are the reasons that I go. Taking the pictures is just the other side of the coin that allows me to express myself in an artistic or creative way. It's just another creative outlet for me. But at the end of the day, it's all part of the circle of me belonging.
Well, Ming, there's one photo that I think will sum this up perfectly. I think it's photo number 3. He's in the audience, and somebody snaps this picture of you. I think that really just sums up everything you just said in a perfect way. And you say a photo can say 1,000 words. You say all those words. I think that photo represents everything you just said, where it's like you're being recognized in the room. People are willing, hey, Jeff, and they're going to take a photo of you on top of everything else.
So I become like the hype man, right? so what happens is before the band goes on and I step up on that barricade and I start taking pictures of the crowd,
right?
And everybody's screaming my name, Jeff over here, Jeff over here,
exactly.
Jeff over here.
I've seen this.
But the other photographers and video guys are like, Jeff, get up there, hype them up, so they could take their video of like a cool scene with everybody's hands in the air.
Nice.
So it's kind of a cool little aspect.
Yeah.
But that to me is everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. Yeah.
And how long you been let's say one of the main guys of the Stone Pony?
So I think it's now probably around 12 or 14 years.
That's a great run.
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
I was doing it, for a few years. There was a guy that was doing it before me.
Right.
For both the Stone Pony as well as Starland Ballroom. We were the exact same age, and we used to have conversations all the time, and every time he would say, Jeff, I hate you. He says, because he was like, you're the reason why I can't earn a living anymore.
Oh, wow.
But from an honest perspective,
right? No, I get
it. He was saying that, listen, all newer photographers, that all the trends changed on how the industry works.
Right.
And my response always was to him, I so understand where you're coming from. And I don't disagree with you.
Right.
But the trends were created because of the technology aspect of the game.
Right.
It wasn't the people, it was the technology that allowed more and more people be able to have better cameras,
right.
be able to make a website in their house in an hour and start a blog or a publication.
Right.
And those are the trends that really changed the aspect of the industry over the last, I'll say, 15 to 20 years.
But do you think you have an advantage getting in late then? Because you getting late into the game, you were kind of on the cusp of when the technology was starting to change over. Correct. You weren't this 80s, 90s guy who was about publication. You did some publication work.
Yep.
But you're also on the beginning end of the technology and seeing how it's grown. So maybe the adjustment wasn't as difficult for you on that level.
100%.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time that if I was just starting now, I'd never do it.
Oh, wow.
I would never get into this game if I was just starting now. It's just, I mean, maybe it's for fun.
But not to the level that you're at now.
No, it's I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just not a great aspect of understanding how to make money today as a concert photographer.
Right.
If you're doing corporate stuff, that's different. Commercial stuff, that's different. But I don't do that. Most of the photographers, music photographers that I know, they make the bulk of their money doing weddings and engagement shoots.
No, I get
and
that.
family shoots.
Right.
I don't do any of that.
Right.
So everything I make financially is strictly based on music.
Right. So having the contract that you have with the Pony and Starland is like, okay, this helps. It represents a chunk, not everything, but at least having that is like going, here's the basis of what I do, and then I can do all the other things to come together and be able. And it's a hustle, no matter how. Because, like you said, you're only off a couple days a month, so it's a definite hustle.
I work directly for the Stone Pony,
right,
and I work directly for Asbury Lanes.
Right.
I do not work directly for Starland Ballroom.
Okay.
I've been photographing there for almost 20 years now as a fan and professionally, and my relationship with them is based on my reputation and brand. So, how it's done is, basically they take care of the communication for me.
Okay.
As a, nice gesture.
Right.
And as a result of me doing all the stuff that I've done over the years. Because I can't physically commit to everybody
of course
on that kind of a level.
It's difficult.
So, the venues I work for directly, I work for promoters, and I get hired by probably somewhere in the range of, I would say, 300 to 400 bands a year in terms of local bands.
Wow.
So it's kind of a little of everything in terms of where it comes from.
And I think this is the other thing we got to bring out a point. You can take hundreds of thousands of photos, and there's only going to be a few that are going to be the ones that where maybe the band will take it from you, or you're going to be able to sell it, or whatever the case may be.
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I actually love the editing process.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't go into it beyond a certain level, but I do enjoy that because that's kind of like when I come home at night and my wife leaves me food in the fridge. I come home, I take all the food out, all the food goes on my computer desk.
There you go.
I get set up, I get everything I need, and I start. And I kind of, that's my like serene time.
Nice.
That's kind of, my wife's asleep, the dog's asleep, and I could just sit there and do my thing for hours and hours and hours. And if I come home, let's say 11:30 at night, midnight, I'm usually up till about 3 in the morning. Oh. Most nights I don't go to bed till between 2 and 3 in the morning.
And you probably don't sleep as much as most people.
Correct.
Man. Yeah.
And then there's 2 days a week that I don't have to get up early.
Right.
3 days a week I actually get up and go to work a few hours right by my house.
Okay, good.
Just to have something to do.
Right.
But it's kind of a nice balance now. Since I had my surgery, which was a little more than a year ago. I'll be honest with you. I was doing construction. I don't want to go back to doing that 40 hours a week on top of everything else I do. I did that for decades. Yeah. I was working 40 hours a week on top of everything I do at night with the shows for decades. So when you put that all together, there is no time for sleep.
There isn't any. Right. You're not kidding.
I would go to a show at the Pony, get home at midnight, and be up at 5 a.m. the next day to go, get my truck in Point Pleasant to go to work.
That's dedicated.
So that's kind of what was the normal routine for years.
Everybody's got their norm, and this is just more like, okay.
So now it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. I had my surgery. I feel great. And now I do have to work to supplement the income, but thank God we're okay, and I don't have to work 40 hours a week anymore.
Amen to that.
So it is what it is.
Jeff Crespi is well known with all of his photography, and I gotta say this: every photographer has its own style. I've noticed that with photographers. Some people try to be a little more dark, some people try to be a little more light, and I think your style is just more kind of. You're not afraid to take a photo of anything is the best way to describe it, because, I mean, this will probably give one of the best examples. Ming, give me photo 11, just to give you an example. It's a random shot, but you sit there and go, you know what? That's fun. And it's just one of those things where you get people very spontaneously.
Yeah. So that is definitely my niche.
Yeah.
Obviously I love concerts because I love music.
Sure.
And I love concert photography because there is no rules, right? Because
that is true.
I don't, and I'm going to tell you this right here and now, I don't know a goddamn thing about photography from a technical standpoint. Okay, and nor do I want to.
Right.
Okay, so everything I do is based on feel and passion.
Right.
And that's how I always wanted it to be. Obviously you need to know how to use a camera, but the fact that there's so many moving parts,
right.
Whether it be the bodies,
yeah.
The lighting,
yeah.
Whether it be daylight, nighttime,
yeah.
What atmosphere, what venue is what makes it amazing to me.
Yeah.
So everywhere I go, there's a different aspect of what I'm shooting and how I'm shooting it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you brought up about style is, to me, one of the most important things, because one thing that I always want my pictures to do is to represent the atmosphere they were taken in. So if it's dark, it's dark. If it's light, it's light.
Right.
If the guitarist is green because there's a green light on him, he's going to be green.
Right.
I don't go home and try to change the aspect of the atmosphere. I don't want it to be about that.
Good example of that, Ming, photo number 6, because of the atmosphere and the time you took the photo. I mean, it's like, you got it, here it is, nighttime. I'm assuming that's here now. Is that?
You know what? No, that's that's.
Is that summer stage?
That's a summer stage.
Wow, packed night.
Yeah.
It almost looks like you could have been on the beach. So
I think that was taken from the balcony there.
Oh, wow. Great. You do some
side
of the best
stage
angles.
On the balcony,
I hate you for that. You get these angles. But it gives a perspective of it. It's like going, okay, you're not trying to enhance the light. It's like going, here we are.
Correct.
It's nighttime at the summer stage. Here's the crowd. And you can feel the energy off the photo of just seeing the mass that has come together for a sold out show.
I have this, and again, everybody has their own style.
Sure.
I would never knock anybody for doing whatever they do.
No, of course.
But I'll give you an example. The summer stage is a beautiful setting most of the time. Right?
It is.
For the most part, it's light out until the sun goes down.
Right.
So when I go home and I see somebody else post a photo in black and white, it doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it's not a good photo. It just means it doesn't represent the atmosphere that it was taken in.
But you also understand that some photographers, that's their stylistic.
100%.
Yeah, then that's
100%.
and to their credit, they make that black and white work beautifully. But for you, that just would never work.
Correct.
And I understand that.
To me,
right.
It doesn't make sense, because if I'm sitting at home and wasn't at that show,
right.
I want to feel like I was at that show. So if there's a sunset behind, the stage or something else going on, you don't see that the other way.
I'll give you another example. That's speaking of stuff behind the stage. I think that would be photo number 8, Ming. And this is a photo you took with Kiss, and you got the full effect going on behind it too. I mean, that's a beautiful.
Yeah,
photo.
that was actually at Madison Square Garden, one of their 1,200 farewell tours.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was really cool, and that was kind of, the very first song we were told to shoot from back there because of what the setup was going to be.
Okay, so
and then as soon as that song ended, we had to run up front for song 2 in the pit.
Oh, there you go. It's like, all right, come on, I gotta make it.
Yeah, but that was cool. Yeah.
It's amazing as you're talking about this, and I'm thinking about the photos that I picked. I'm going, oh, this represents that, and and I can defend everything you're saying, which is wonderful. Jeff Crespi's here on the A Game, photography extraordinaire. That's what he does. I'm gonna share a couple other photos because you've been busy with North to Shore, and even though it's not a concert, it's a great photo. Photo number 1. You caught just a really cool moment with John, and he didn't even look like he knew the camera was there. Which again goes back to what I was saying. You're 100%. Catching people very naturally,
Yeah, that was part of the Asbury Underground, which was this past Saturday,
right.
Which is an amazing event that was going on for many years prior to the pandemic. And then my friend Patrick, who created it, decided to bring it back last year as a partner with North to Shore.
Nice.
So yeah, so John Stewart actually drums for my friend Rick Barry's band called Church and State.
I did not know
Yeah.
that. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me at all that would be the case either. Every photographer around the Jersey Shore has got at least one Springsteen one. I dug this one up. Here's photo number 5. Let's go for that. And what I like about it is, again, nothing pretentious. Just you caught a moment at the right time. Just kind of this, here's Southside and Bruce, whatever they were talking about, whatever was going on, it was just going, yeah,
Yeah,
it was good.
yeah, that was cool. That was years ago at the Summer Stage. Bruce came out with Southside and Gary Talent and all those guys, and yeah, it was definitely a cool moment. And I've been, I've got to photograph Bruce obviously numerous times,
Sure,
in different settings, and yeah, I mean the buzz that it creates, is just amazing, yeah.
When it comes to the Stone Pony, and I got to admit, I went to Jeff's website. I've got a clip I want to, and I think this kind of explains a lot of his relationship with the Stone Pony. And Kyle Brundle, God bless him, had something to say about it here. Ming, you've got the clip for me? I think if we go down here, yeah, it's about 40 seconds. Take a look at this. This will explain a lot.
Jeff has a very open personality, and that's huge because it's a very social business. He's very passionate about what he does, so his work speaks for itself. He comes to the Pony and he covers the newest of new bands, the biggest of national tours, and I love that about him because he is just, he's diversified. He's into all of it.
Into all of it, that's an understatement. I've seen this man at just about every kind of show, and it's like his musical taste run the gamut, and that's great. I mean,
but that's the whole point. Is like, and I literally had this conversation just the other day, where Bruce Springsteen started somewhere, Bon Jovi started somewhere.
True.
All these big names started somewhere, whether it be in a basement, in a garage.
Right.
So it's mind-boggling to me that more people don't invest their time into the new up-and-coming younger bands.
Right.
I mean, I tell people all the time, I'll take a 12-band battle of the bands any day of the week.
I've noticed that. I have noticed that with the work that you do.
Yeah.
And you have a passion for, like you said, from the biggest of the big to the smallest of the small. And there's got to be something rewarding when all of a sudden you've been photographer. Let's say you've been taking photographs of somebody for 10 years and all of a sudden they break.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll take an example like Deal Casino, which was, ready to really go out there and do their thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that didn't happen for numerous reasons, but I was like, I remember when they had their very first residency at the Saint on a Sunday night, and I would go there and, show 1, maybe 8 people, show 2, maybe 12 people, show 4, maybe 30 people.
Right.
And I've watched that whole progression. And then the following season, Peter from, at the time, Langosta Lounge and Low Dive grabbed them and gave them a residency for the next 2 seasons. I think it was Tuesday night or a Thursday night. And my wife used to come. We used to go just watch them in Low Dive every week. And they just skyrocketed. And a true story is that, one of their relatives asked, they wanted to buy a photo of them from me.
Yeah.
And I was starting to make like these coffee table photo books for myself.
Sure.
And I said, listen, I got so many pictures of them. How about I make up a little coffee table photo book of the band? Yeah. And they loved the idea, and they ordered like 8 books from me. And I made up like 8 of these coffee table photos. So all of their parents or aunts or whoever they were has like a coffee table photo book of all just Deal Casino pictures.
Nice.
So I've definitely watched a lot of bands, especially ones from like Lake House Music Academy. Yeah. Some of the School of Rocks that I've done work with over the years.
Lake House, John Leadersdorf. God love the work they do.
Some of these kids were 9, 10 years old when I started photographing them. And then there's bands I shoot at the Pony, like a Sunday showcase. And there was one band I photographed, and at the end of the set, the singer came off and says, I don't know if you know who I am, but I just want to tell you, like, you photographed my dad like 15 years ago. He played in a band that opened up at Starland Ballroom. So now I'm photographing like second generations.
It's like I'm flattered and now scared that I'm become that old.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
So, but that's kind of what's going on now.
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
So I just the other day I photographed a guy and his daughter who I photographed separate times over the years, and now they were together at like the brewery, and I got a nice picture of the two of them together for like Father's Day.
That's good stuff.
So yeah.
Got some more photographs we'll show, but to dive a little bit more into Jeff's story, I mean, I know you've been recovering for how long? How many years recovered?
35.
35 years. God bless you for that.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is the thing that I think of, because knowing you in the scene, and I sit there and here's this little tidbit that not everybody knows, and knowing that there's temptation all around you. Mm-hmm. That's the crazy part, that you've managed to maneuver these waters knowing it's like, okay, I could be offered anything under the sun.
Yeah. And
you've managed to just be like, you know what? This is a part of my past. I've conquered it. I know it's something I'll live with for the rest of my life. But in a weird way, I think photography saves you in that sense.
And to that point,
yeah.
So let me explain that everything I do revolves around that. And people think it's the opposite. They don't realize that being a recovering alcoholic and addict, we all search for something that makes sense.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when I was, when I moved to Jersey, I think I had about 14 years clean and sober when I moved to Jersey.
Okay.
So, when I started doing all of this, I already had that foundation.
Right.
Otherwise, I don't know if it would ever work.
Yeah, that's
but
a very good
had
point.
The
very
foundation.
good point. You're right.
But when I started going to like VFW shows early on with my son, I was sponsoring some of these kids.
Oh, wow.
I was literally sponsoring some of these kids that were, because... So what I realized was the whole point of being a recovering alcoholic and addict is to be able to share that experience.
Right.
So that other people could learn from your experience, but also I could do what I need to do too.
Right.
So when I started going to shows, it all made sense. It became my recovery.
Wow.
It became a way
Never would have thought of it.
It became a way of me being the person I always wanted to be, but also be able to give back.
Right.
And have it a win-win on both sides.
Wild.
And that was the whole basis of what kept me wanting to keep doing this and get to the level that I get to.
So not only a passion, it's also, like you said,
Right.
it fulfills.
Correct.
It fulfills you.
100%.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Never
it's
would have
literally the basis of my life.
Wow. Again, I get it now that you say it, but I never would have thought about it just on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, now you say it, you go,
Right.
that makes so.
So when my wife might say, hey, do you have to go tonight? My answer is no, I don't have to, but I want to. And the main reason is because I know when I get there, that feeling of, where somebody else, it might be sitting in a meeting.
Sure.
Or, but that's what it's all about for me.
I know your wife's sitting here and watching. I'm going to say you're a saint, just for that. And I mean, but it says a lot, because you know what you've been taking on with Jeff as far as all that goes, and that kind of support is so important for his recovery. So bravo to you for everything you've done in this, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, she knows that. My kids know that.
Right.
And they're welcome to be part of this in any way they choose to.
That's great.
If they want. I mean, when I'm out in Asbury, my wife, my kids, they want to come, they hang, they could do whatever I do.
Right.
So it's kind of cool that all of it works, and that we're able to have a lifestyle that allows both sides of the coin, the family life, this life, and everything else.
And it all it becomes your normal.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing.
100%.
It has become this. Is welcome to the Crespi normal.
Yeah. I mean, I work now just 3 days a week. 3 days a week.
3 days a week.
I work at a local car dealership by my house.
There you go.
And they all know what I do.
Right.
They all know what I do, and some of them are friends of mine that I've known for years.
That's great.
And so, it's like awesome. So, I come in the morning, like, how many shows did you do this weekend? That kind of thing. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I say to people, who wouldn't want that?
Right.
Right? Who wouldn't want to wake up every day of their life and be able to go places that gives them that feeling of everything?
And it's funny, I've known this man on and off for so many years, and I just noticed this on his arm, just to enhance the point of his passion. Come here, show me this thing. He's got a tattoo of the Wonder Bar front entrance on his forearm. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, so these are all the venues. That
It's funny, and you got the Stone Pony right here. I'm like, I'm just noticing this now after all these years.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And so how long has that been going on with the
So
tats?
not long. So because ironically, I'm not a tattoo person.
Right.
But I love tattoos, but never my thing.
Okay.
But my daughter is a professional tattoo artist.
Oh, get out of here.
So
That's
how
wild.
could you not have something by? So
Sure.
me and my wife got our first tattoos at 60 years old. And now my wife has a full sleeve.
You have 3?
No, I have 4.
You have 4. Okay.
So yeah, now I'm all, and then we'll figure out where to go from here.
But again, an expression of you. You basically said, "Well, I've worked here.
Yeah.
Let me see." And like I said,
Yeah.
look, the Wonder
Yeah.
Bar stands out. That
Yeah,
one
it's
stands
nice.
out.
I like that one.
I like it a lot because she got the colors right. She got the front entrance right.
Yeah.
It just that pops.
Yeah.
And again, as a photographer, you like to see something that pops.
Yeah,
So
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of my daughter's idea to do the Polaroids.
That's fantastic.
Obviously it made sense.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's great stuff. At least I know I'm not that crazy. It's only happened in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
it's only been, like a year and a half?
all right, good. I'm not
Oh,
losing
that
it that much. All right. Getting worried there.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people, don't realize how much this means to me.
Yeah.
It's not just about showing up with a camera.
Right, but I know that from all the years of just being in radio on the Jersey Shore and now working for 95.9 The Rat and seeing you out there. It's like going, and I see you more often because I'm on a rock station.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of rock shows,
Yeah.
so I see that more to the forefront than ever before.
Yeah. Yeah, and I used to get phone calls from people as I'd be driving home and say, "Hey Jeff, Gotch just mentioned you on the right. Robin just mentioned on the right. Carl just yeah," and I'm like, "Oh, great," But yeah, so it's kind of but it's stuff like that whenever those thoughts pop into my head about okay, like when is this going to end? Should I keep doing this?
Right.
That's the conversations that happen. That I'm like, no, it can't end. Like it can never end. Like I'm gonna be in one of those like little scooters with a horn,
Yes.
with the security guards with the light. He's coming through. Let him come. So that's how it's gonna have to be.
Jeff Crespi's here on the A Game. All right, I've only got 3 for random shots, but this is for deep dives on everybody's social media. Jeff is no exception. And obviously, I'm going to try to tie him to at least one of the photos, because since we did mention 95.9 The Rat, and I'd be remiss not to bring them up, only because I work there. Photo number 2, Ming, if you would. This is an old one, but there's 95.9 The Rat with 6 to Midnight. And it had me thinking, because we're talking about The Rat. You already mentioned Gotts. If you had to pinpoint how many photographs you have taken of Gotts over the last decade.
I've taken pictures of him in diapers and dresses. Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely insane. It's cool. I'm going to tell you a funny story.
Oh,
okay.
We like Gotts stories.
Funny ass story.
Here we go.
I was mind boggled. It was one of the summer stage shows a few years ago.
Okay.
And sometimes we have indoor bands before and after.
Right.
Which have nothing to do with the outside show, but we had my friend's band Second Skin was doing the after show at like 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And they asked Gotts to come up and announce them.
Yeah,
right?
that happens.
And
sure.
obviously Gotts was nowhere to be found, right? So after the band already started,
Oh, no.
Gotts just walked up and got on the stage as if they didn't start yet. And he's just walking in between the band, like saying hi to them as they're playing. And I'm sitting there with my camera. Get off the damn stage! I can't take a photo. It's like it was the greatest thing, but the craziest thing I ever saw.
Yeah.
Like it was just watching something in slow motion. I couldn't believe it. And eventually, one of the security guards had to pull him off. But he didn't even realize what was going on.
Oh, no.
He was like, "No, I got to announce him. No, they started like 7 minutes ago."
Just remember, we love you, guys. Just remember that.
But that's again, like he walks into a room and it's like, everybody takes notice, and because he's that guy, he's
Right.
that guy that wants.
And again, your camera
wants to
eye,
hug you. He
but,
wants to
right, but your
high-five you.
camera eye's picking up on all that. You can pick up on that energy that you see when people.
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you got to love a guy like that.
How can you not?
And I always say to myself, I mean, I don't know how he does it. Like I don't know how he, like, does everything that he does and never misses a beat.
I can sum it up in one way because I was lucky enough because he sought my advice when I wasn't even working at the Rat, and he asked me questions because he respected my opinion. I just said, look, so long as you stay true to yourself, and that's what you got to do. You can't try to put on a fake facade.
No,
you know who you
definitely
are,
not.
and that's the thing. Gotts is what you hear, what he is. That's him.
Yeah.
That is not an act.
Yeah.
And people get it.
I love that about him.
Yeah, you can't help but love that.
That's the whole point of like, it's so hard to be that way in today's world now.
No, that is true.
And,
that is true.
and to a point where what I think is absolutely insane is watching grown-ass people try to create a phony persona on social media, right? So like, this whole thing of what they do for a living, content create. No, you sell mattresses.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, you're a mattress salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a content creator. You're not an entrepreneur. You're not, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I watch this and I'm going, oh my God. Like, why do you think that what your normal life is so boring that you have to create something to the point of being not that way?
But I also think that's a side effect of reality television too.
I agree.
Yeah,
the whole social media
Right.
of how easy it is to do that.
Right.
Right. So now you're around people, or there's people I'm around all the time.
Right.
And then finally it could be a month later, 6 months later, 7 years later, and I could be sitting next to that person.
Right.
Hey, what do you do? And they'll look at me like, what do you mean? And I'm like, no, like, what do you do during the day? Oh, well, I work for a marketing company, or, I'm a salesperson at a clothing store. Oh, because I've never seen that.
Right.
Like, you don't talk about that. Like, that's not listed on the site.
Right. I know.
So it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's
I
like,
get what you mean by that.
like,
Sure.
it's weird. It's weird to me because I don't understand it. That's not who I am. Like, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, it's funny because I've noticed with my socials, I'll post about it because I do a lot of casino night work where I'm just dealing either Texas Hold'em or doing the roulette wheel, whatever the case, and I do that for charity events, and that's how I get paid on my other thing. But I've posted, these events that I go to kind of say, hey, look, these are fun, show up, but I'm not going to hide it either. It's
No,
like,
but that's my point.
No, I'm defending your point. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, doing it for the purpose of what the relation is
Correct.
one thing. But when you're trying to create something different than what you are,
Right.
that's what I'm talking about.
No, I understand that, and like I said, it still goes back to that cyclical thing of like going that whole genre of reality television, which can be good, can also have that side effect bad as well. Yeah, it's in the end.
It's that old cliche is like, you see everything on social media, but then when you're right in front of that person, it's completely the opposite.
Well, it's just funny because I really had the guys from Bravo's Love Hotel on recently, and they were fantastic. And the thing was, the vibe I got, they weren't putting up facades. They were just like going, here we go, here it is. Yeah. And I appreciated that. And I think that's why the podcast worked. I think if they came across like they were trying to hide something or like going, no, they didn't. And
that's why I tell people all the time, whether it be a podcast or an interview,
Yeah.
I'm an open book. There's no skeletons in the closet.
That's a good thing.
Nothing that I've done in my life that I can't talk about.
No. And again, we were touching on, you're going through addiction. So, I mean, that says a lot. You're not afraid.
That's a big piece of the puzzle. And I think that's an important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, no, I knew I had to bring that up.
When I first started going to Starland Ballroom and other venues, I made sure that all the bartenders knew my story. So
I can understand.
There wasn't that accidental, thing, that they didn't know my story, and that was a big part of the beginning.
Sure. Let everybody know. I respect that a lot. Two more questions in random shots. I mean, obviously, as a photographer, what is the oldest camera you have? I mean, not that you would bring it out, but I mean.
Oh, good question. I mean, I have.
Just it kind of gives an idea of the technology and how you adjusted with it. Yeah.
Let's see, probably the oldest one I have is probably about 10 years old. That I still have. That works.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I have. Excuse me. I do have other cameras that I've had from back in the day.
Right.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think I might have maybe a couple of point and shoots still packed away. Mm-hmm. But in terms of functional digital cameras, I think the oldest one I still have that physically works is about 10 years old.
Okay, so it is important to really keep up with the technology. No, you okay?
I'm good, yeah.
Okay. But as I was saying, I guess it is very important to try to keep up with the technology.
So, yes.
Yeah.
But I do. The older cameras, excuse me, got a tickle, is more my thing.
Okay.
Because of the solidness of them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ming.
Ming, appreciate that.
I like the more solid cameras because I'm still running around through crowds.
Right.
So I don't like the more lightweight, smaller ones. They don't feel as good in my hand.
I would imagine because you're so used to having the let's say the weight of the camera, you understand that feel. And if it's too light, it's almost like this could slip through my hand.
Correct. So it is what it is. But like you said, with technology and the way things are going, the older cameras, as one took a crap and died on me, and you got to get a new one. What do? Do I get a used old one or do I get a new? So that's kind of where I was like a few years ago.
Right.
And so the camera I use now is a newer, not a newer, but a newer, but not the newest mirrorless camera.
Okay.
Which is the first mirrorless I've ever used.
I like that. Let me get photo number 9. I'm going to use this in random shots because this was the one that kind of stood out to me. I don't know what this is. Honestly, I don't have a clue.
Okay.
But the reason I wanted to take this one because it caught my eye beyond. What is going on here?
Okay, so that's the band In This Moment.
Okay.
Maria Brinks, which is amazing entertainer. It's so there is a backstory. So In This Moment is one of the coolest bands you'll ever see live till this day.
Okay.
A lot of costume changes, very theatrical. One of the best shows you'll ever see, and I've been photographing them for many years.
Right.
Unfortunately, over the last few years, and I don't know why, but they don't allow media anymore. But years ago, they used to let us shoot the entire set because of this costume changes and the different theatrical settings. They would always very photographer friendly.
Okay.
Would allow most of us to shoot the entire show.
Right.
For that reason. And that a few years ago, that all stopped.
Did they give a reason?
There is no reason. It's usually because obviously somebody did something stupid.
Yeah.
And instead of, you know how it goes, we all suffer.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of artists now that don't allow photographers anymore, and they just have their touring person.
Right.
So it is becoming more of a trend. It's not a lot per se in relation, but it is happening more and more often.
Do you feel that? Do you feel that, punch to you on a lot of levels? And you just sit there and say, well, I can't take it personally because it's not me, but also maybe it's hitting the wallet a little bit.
Well, I personally see both sides of the coin.
Okay.
Because I understand that, they're people too.
Yeah.
Right? So
absolutely.
Just because we're photographers doesn't mean we have the right to do whatever we want.
No.
Right?
That's a good point.
So I've always tried to stress that at a lot of newer photographers because, again, the newer realm of photographers don't understand etiquette, professionalism, or rules. Everybody thinks today that it's a free-for-all, right?
Yeah,
and that's what I don't like about it. And I always, when people reach out to me, I also stress very strongly, I said, you want to be a concert photographer, learn the industry first.
Smart.
Learn
Good
the
advice.
industry first.
Good
because
advice.
there's a lot that goes on in this industry that you would need to know and be comfortable with before you just dive into it.
And I can say on the radio, and it's changed a lot over the last 20 years, where it was a little bit more friendlier, but the bands have taken, and I understand why bands have done that, where it's like they would do a lot of these radio promotions with the bands. But a lot of these bands now are taking it back for a lot of reasons because this is their bread and butter. It's more their bread and butter than ever before. When the industry changed to digital downloads and how they're making their money, now it's the live concert. Everything about the live concert has to be profitable for them. So when they allow somebody into their world, to defend your point, they have to be very, very careful.
Yes.
And I think it's great advice that you're giving them. Understand what the industry is in 2025.
And the other thing is, a lot of the newer photographers, they're not. They don't mind. They'll drive 3 hours to photograph a show, do an entire write-up review for free.
Oh.
And that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And that's the common. That's more common than the other way. That's just, again, that's one of those things that changed the way the industry works.
Right.
So when you have that going on a steady basis, everything else becomes more valueless.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're getting devalued in the process. Right. Yeah.
So that's
exactly
kind of what happens over time as things change. Something loses value.
Yeah, that's what it. Yeah, true.
But it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, it is the
It's
nature of
just
the beast.
the way it goes, you know.
One more question here, and obviously, you have done enough bands on the small and the large that you've acquired some things along the way. You've gotten some gifts. Is there one that stands out in your mind right now when I say, okay, kind of a collector's thing you got from a band?
Oh, yeah, okay. It's funny, actually. It's hanging up in my bedroom.
There you go.
So, years and years ago, there was a few local bands that would do the circuit.
Right.
And one of those bands was a band called Scarlet Carson.
Okay.
And another band was called Jaded Faith. There was 3 or 4 or 5 bands that all kind of played a lot of shows together. And Scarlet Carson was doing a show at Starland Ballroom. Jaded Faith was one of the bands opening for them on the bill. And it was going to be their last show.
Okay.
And I didn't know that this was happening, but Jaded Faith actually presented me with a drum head with, all signed it. It had the ticket from that night.
Nice
on
touch.
The drum
I like
head,
that.
and they presented it to me on the stage.
Nice.
And I never, I didn't know that was happening.
Yeah,
but there was a
beautiful
lot
surprise.
of local bands back then that, I was just following around the state of New Jersey.
Right.
Or I was going into New York, more often back then. So that was cool. Yeah. So things like that, and that's that moment that you realize, well, oh wow, people do actually care. People
appreciate
have been watching.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So yeah, that's probably the coolest thing. Yeah, I mean that's kind of
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. Yeah.
You will see this man out and about, especially you go to any of the Stone Pony Summer Stage shows this summer. He's busy with North to Shore, which is going on this week. And like you said, this is your one day off.
Yeah, we have, tomorrow night starts the Mogo series on the boardwalk.
Right.
And then Thursday I think we got 4 summer stage shows in a row starting Thursday.
Yeah, and one of them that I will try to make my way to, Parliament Funkadelic and George Clinton's final go-round.
Yeah.
And, the opening act happens to be Living Color. Really? I mean, Living Color's opening, for God's sake.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I think, the show of the season.
You know what? And I was at... Oh, God, and I'm drawing a blank because I was at the show. I'm like, really, Rob? Can you possibly have amnesia? Black Keys. Which was an amazing show.
Yeah.
But I think Clinton and Living Color is going to give that one a run for its money.
I think that's going to be a cool vibe. I mean, that's kind of... I remember last year it was T-Pain. It was like the big show of the year that everybody was anticipating. And, that's going to be a cool show. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously you'll be there for the last one of the season. That's the one 95.9.
Seether.
Yeah, Seether, Daughtry,
POD.
POD. Yeah, that's a nice triple bill.
Yeah.
And
that's going to be cool.
Yeah. I mean, as far as when it comes to, it's a good way to wrap it up. We're talking about the Snow Pony Summer Stage. They bring back some bands. I mean,
yes. And
the local bands, they know. I mean, any of these national bands, they come back and they see you, and they kind of go, Jeff!
Yeah. No, and that is a cool aspect of it. And I think it's also a lot of times, like you brought up Seether.
Yeah.
And I remember the last time Seether was at the Pony, they actually played 2 shows, 2 consecutive nights inside. And one of my really good friends that I met who are from Detroit,
right,
a band called Kaleido, I met them, I don't even know how many years ago. They were like the band that played at 12:30 in the afternoon at a Warped Tour. They're from Detroit, and they were given the Jersey date.
Sure.
And when Warped Tour, when those gates would open, I would go right to the side stage because I wanted to see all of those bands that I've never heard of, never seen before, and nobody ever knew them. And from that day forward, we became friends, and then they finally started coming to Jersey a lot. Well, they were one of the opening bands for Seether on that tour.
Nice.
And so that was really cool. So yeah, it's always good to see bands, coming back. Even the other night with Slightly Stupid, all those guys, Little Stranger, and it's like, you see the familiar faces and
because they come back on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah, so
they
it's
really
like
do.
It's really cool when that happens. Yeah.
Well, thank you for finally doing this.
No, this was awesome.
I'm glad you had a
really
good time.
Appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Jeff Crespi rocks. Photo for it. Put the logo up. There we go. Thank you. Has to be done. That's his trademark. He has his website, by the way. He's got photos on the website. I'm sure if somebody had something in mind, they could try to purchase something from you, could they not?
Yes.
There you go. So check out the website at your leisure. You're going to find some great photos ranging from the local to the national. And wouldn't be surprised if that Kiss photo gets some requests because that's an
that was a cool show.
That's an amazing photo, by the way. continue to do what you do, and continue to be an inspiration, by the way, too, my friend.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. We'll be back after the 4th of July. I have no idea who's coming in here. We'll figure it out then. But enjoy the rest of your week. Until then, it's the A Game. I'm Rob Acampora. This is Jeff Crespi. We'll see you soon. Take care.